Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Va Eva Cha Patitanam Pavne Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so this is another interesting shloka. We have all these shlokas in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And they're all very interesting. So this morning, the main gist, or the main essence of this shloka this morning is that who is the controller? Obviously, if there's a controller, there's somebody who's being controlled. So who is being controlled and who is the controller? The controller is God. He controls everything and everyone. And the controlled, who is the controlled? The living entities. And who are the living entities? The Jiva, Atma, we are. So, if anyone is under the impression we are God, or we'd like to do this or that to somebody, no, you are not the ultimate controller. Never were, never will be. However, you are part and parcel of the person, the supreme person, personality of Godhead. So, you are part and parcel of the one who's controller. And that's why, hence the tendency to control things, to be the boss. To want to be, better than somebody, or to be basically the boss, to be the controller, but it's not in our hands. So I got together some quotations where the supreme being, the supreme controller, the supreme personality of Godhead is being mentioned, and it's confirmed. So the first one is obviously the first and foremost is the Brahma Samhita. Lord Brahma says in his prayers, as soon as he meets with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the moment he's born, he's looking for the source, where he's come from, who's the father, where did he originate from. So he went on a search, he was born on a lotus flower, and there was a stem, and he followed the stem all the way down and couldn't find. So in the end, he threw up his hands in the air and he took shelter, and he said, whoever, the supreme person, the supreme being, whoever you are, please reveal yourself and please enlighten me. So that's when Lord Krishna, this Mahavishnu, the lotus flower had sprung from the navel, his navel, and gave him that vision. So in his prayers, Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, confirmed who is the personality of Godhead. So he says in Brahma Samhita, text 5.1, Lord Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme personality of Godhead. Is the supreme Godhead. So he confirms it right there. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all, and he has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So he is basically he is the controller. So that's one quotation where we confirm who is the controller, who is the supreme personality of Godhead. And another one is a very interesting one, if I can find it quickly enough, because this is an iPad, and so it gets a little bit hard to find very quickly. Let me see. We go to chapter 10, and text from 12 to 13. Where is it? There's many notes here, so I have to go through each one. And it becomes a little bit hard. Here it is. Okay, so chapter 10 to 12. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramamam bhavan purusham sashvatam divyam adidevam aja vibhum ahustvam rashaya sarve devasher naradas tatha ashito devalo vyasaha swayam chaiva bravishime. So the translation of this, because we are trying to find out where, who is the personality of Godhead, who's God. And so here Arjun, who is a friend of Krishna and is the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he says, you are the supreme personality. So here he confirms of Godhead. You are the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest of the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the sages such as Narad, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he declares it quite openly. He says, I'm God, I'm the Supreme One, and I'm the controller. There's another one that is a very, very nice one, which is actually my favorite one. It might actually be one of the best shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, from my personal viewpoint, it's text. Chapter 10 in the Bhagavad Gita, text 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarva pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Here Krishna directly admits, he says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. I am the source. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all my hearts. And another favorite one is from the Chaitanya Charimrita. Kaviraj Goswami, he says, Ekale Ishvara Krishna arasabha vritya yare yeche nachaya se teche kare nitya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller. So here we've quoted the Brahma Samhita, the Bhagavad Gita, and now we are on Chaitanya Charimrita. They all say the same thing. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. They dance as he makes them do so. There's a nice prayer that Srila Prabhupada says when he's on his way to America, in the beginning of his journey to America, because he has his heart attacks along the way on the ship. And Srila Prabhupada mentions very clearly in his prayers, it says to Lord Krishna, prayers to Lord Krishna, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. So Krishna makes us all dance. No doubt about it. So if you think why you are doing the things you are doing, it's because of Krishna is the controller. But then we can't blame Krishna. Jayapataka Maharaj told me one day, he's a Siksha Guru of mine, he said never blame Krishna for anything. We can't. So anyway, there's another very nice shloka in the Chaitanya Charimrita, Adi Leela 7.7. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Ekale Ishvara Avitiya Nandayat Maja Rasika Shekhara. What does that mean? That means Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, is the supreme personality of Godhead himself. So again, supreme personality of Godhead, the supreme controller. No one is greater or equal to Krishna. No one is greater. Yet he appears as the son of Nand Maharaj. He appears as Nanda Nandana, as the son of Maharaj, a very, beautiful little boy. But he is the supreme controller. Who would have known? So in this verse, Kaviraj Goswami, he gives an accurate description of Lord Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, by stating that although no one is equal or greater than him, and he is the reservoir of all spiritual pleasure, he nevertheless appears as the son of Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. There's one in the Mahabharata also, Moksha Dharma, because in this chapter, the one that we just read, it's mentioned that he is the source of, he's the controller. Even Brahma and Vishnu, Brahma and Lord Shiva, they are all created by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the Mahabharata Moksha Dharma, Krishna says himself, Prajapatim cha rudram chapi, aham eva shajami vai, tau hi mam na vijanto, mama maya vimohito. That means the patriarchs, Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know what they are created by, though they do not know that they are created by me, because they are deluded by my illusory energy. So there's many shlokas which confirms Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from the Mahabharata that we just quoted, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Brahma Samhita, any Vedic scriptures, bona fide Vedic scriptures, you'll all come to the same conclusion, that Krishna is God. So, what does that mean? Does that mean, now we come to the interesting part, does that mean that because he's the Supreme Controller, he doesn't look after us, he just makes us, it is true, he makes us do whatever he wants us to do. But is that a bad thing? The answer is obviously no. Because Krishna, he looks after his devotees. We are dancing to his tune, obviously. We are being controlled by him. But he takes care of us. And how he takes care of us is he helps us to reach him, because he knows that we are suffering and we want to reach him. And so he does it in a very clever way, because what's happened is because we are so the difficulties are here and we are enjoying the material life so much that we forget him. So he reminds us, when somebody is sleeping, you shake them awake and say, wake up, wake up. So Krishna does that. He takes care of his devotees. Devotees are those, individuals, those souls who have taken shelter with Lord Krishna, who worship Lord Krishna, who accept Lord Krishna as their God, their Lord, and who love Krishna. So they are totally surrendered, and they have faith in Krishna. So Krishna, there's a very beautiful. Let me skip to. I had actually closed it, but there is a very nice quotation in the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says, "I am in the devotees' hearts, and the devotees are in mine." So he's always got the devotee in his heart, which is very nice, because there are certain times like I've actually experienced, because I also have pujari experience, and there are certain times when I see the deities. I'm sure the other pujaris would have also seen this. When they come and see the deity, sometimes they see the face of somebody else there. For example, another devotee. And when we see that, we understand that Krishna is giving the message that this particular person is in me, and I'm in their hearts. I will go so far as to say who it is I saw. When I went to Mayapur for the first time, I saw the beautiful deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the very first time. The immense size was huge, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's face, I saw the face of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So that was very wonderful. And the message from what I read in the purport for this particular class, because I hadn't really understood what that meant, but that means that Maharaj is in Lord Chaitanya's heart, and Lord Chaitanya is in his heart, and that's why I was seeing this vision. It's very particular, very beautiful. So I'll talk a little bit more. Oh, here it is. It's actually the chapter that I was referring to in the Bhagavad Gita. It's chapter 7.18. He says, all these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, and but he is situated in the knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. The devotees, and then in the purport, he says, the devotees are in my heart. So if you ever happen to see the face of any particular person in the face of the devotee, which I have seen a few times, various personalities, it just means that Lord Krishna is in their hearts, and they reside in Lord Krishna's hearts. So how does Lord Krishna bring you? How does he take care of you? I'm going to share the knowledge that I received from my Guru Maharaj's class. He has a very nice, interesting class that he gave in New Zealand. I think I was there at that time, personally. And he gave this class in Bhakti Vinod Thakur Prabhu's house, as to how Lord Krishna takes care of his devotees and why he does it and how he does it. It's very interesting, very humorous class also. Well, Krishna, he puts the devotees in difficulties, actually. And once he puts the devotees in difficulties, then they take shelter with Krishna. And there are three types of difficulties. One is Adi Devik. These come from, they arise from the forces of nature. I mean, for example, just recently, Fiji Islands had a huge cyclone of category 5, which is the strongest category in the world that you can have. And it basically smashed a smaller island, not the main island, but the second main island of Fiji. Forces of nature. So people are without food and clothes right now, and they are looking for donations to clothe them and feed them. Forces of nature. So Krishna puts them in that condition, or puts us in this condition. And if you're a devotee, you will start praying instantly. How do you pray? You do your japa. You say the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we all worried, and we were chanting over here, worried about the people of Fiji, how they are. Are they okay? So there have been 3 deaths there. So that's Adi Devik, forces of nature. Adi Bhotik is the second kind of difficulty, and they arise by surroundings. And surroundings normally are the people around you. So they bother you. That's Adi Bhotik. They fight with you, they give you pain. And the third difficulty, is the Adhyatmic, which arises from within us. Arises from within us is the body. We can get sick, like corona right now. Our body gives us so much pain. So, and in his class, Gurudev cracked a funny joke. He said there is Adi Bhotik, Adi Devik, Adi Atmik, and then there is Adi Devotik, which really means is the devotees, they put each other in difficulties. Why they do that? Anyway, Gurudev actually explained it quite nicely. He said, we must first of all realize and understand why this particular devotee or this particular person is causing me so much difficulty or causing me so much pain. You have to get to that platform. I mean, initially you will be angry. You will want to defend yourself, and you will want to curse that person. I mean, in that situation, Gurudev cracked another little joke within the joke was that, we become like Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is a very angry sage. He's Lord Shiva's manifestation, Durvasa Muni. And as soon as you do something wrong, he curses you. So when some devotee is doing something bad to us, we try to get angry, we curse them. And we become like Durvasa Muni. Well, once we are, that is actually not Krishna conscious, because we are not on Durvasa Muni's level. So that is not the Krishna conscious way to react. That's first thing to realize. And so then, what do you do? Well, first of all, you have to understand why this particular devotee is causing you so much pain. And why are they doing the things that they are doing? Well, the reason is that they are in some kind of, they kind of have some issue, obviously, which is causing them pain, which is causing them some kind of suffering, and that's why they are reacting the way they are reacting with you. They are trying to cause you harm, or they're trying to cause you shame, or they're trying to humiliate you, or whatever it is that they're doing, whatever difficulties they're doing, or playing politics. I mean, it's called politics. They're doing it because they are in some kind of mess themselves, and there's certain they're suffering within it. They've got some issue within that's causing them quite a lot of anxiety. And so they are reflecting it on you. So you have got to understand that it's coming from there. Gurudev said in his class, he said, the worst one is when somebody that whom you trust, someone who you trust does this, or someone who you love does this. If you are a devotee and this happens, what are you supposed to think? How are you supposed to react? What are you supposed to do? Well, if you are a devotee, this is not my class, this is Bir Krishna Maharaj's class, and I found this amazing. It is the best class, one of his best classes in my opinion, because it applies to everyone, everyone's in some kind of misery or other. So this actually teaches you how to handle these situations and issues, which we all need to learn. We need to know how to learn, how to handle these issues when someone is causing you grief, especially somebody you are close to. What did he say? Adi devotik. Say, in the example that Gurudev gave was the husband and wife. Say the husband and wife fight with each other. The wife says to the husband, I hate you. And the husband says, I hate you. So the pain is quite a lot because it hits the heart. It hits the heart. Because you trust that person or you love that person. So your heart aches, basically. And if you're a devotee, Gurudev said, you must understand straight away that it is an arrangement of Krishna. Actually, those issues or those difficulties that come that are not within your control. For example, right now, Corona is there and people get Corona and then it was beyond their control. They couldn't do anything about it. If you're a devotee, you must understand that those difficulties that are beyond your control is an arrangement by Krishna. And I'll say, why does Krishna put us through these difficulties? He's supposed to love us. He's supposed to, take care of us. We are his devotee. We are innocent. We didn't do anything wrong. Why? Why? And then we start blaming Krishna. It doesn't work like that. Krishna is trying to, obviously, you have to learn, first of all, what is he trying to do? Obviously, he's trying to make you Krishna conscious and advance spiritually. That's what he's trying to do. But but why is he trying to do that? That's the thing. Why? There's a lesson that's meant to be learned here. And the thing is, if we react in a way that I wrote it down here because I found this sentence very, very simple, but very, very deep and very profound and very true. He said, Gurudev said, if we get angry and disturbed at the person who is the immediate cause of pain, then we are just as responsible as the person who is doing it. In other words, if we react in a similar way to the person who's doing this to you, then you are no better than the other person. You are actually responsible for whatever is happening. So you've got to stop yourself immediately from doing the exact same thing, get angry. Because then you become down to the level, and as soon as you do that, you are doing something that's not Krishna conscious. So then, we want to know what lesson is Krishna teaching us? And the ultimate lesson Lord Krishna is teaching us is one that is very difficult, but it is very important. It is the prerequisite of what you need to go back to Godhead. For example, if you are doing a degree and the prerequisite is to do paper, if you've done a degree, you know that there are certain compulsory papers. If you don't do those compulsory exams and pass, you will never get the degree. You'll never get it. So, if you need to go back to Godhead, there is a certain prerequisite that you need. If you don't have this, you'll never go back to Godhead. In other words, you need this prerequisite to advance spiritually. If you don't have this, you do not advance spiritually, you do not go back to Godhead. And that's the lesson that Krishna is teaching you. And what is that lesson? It is called compassion. Because compassion for that particular person who is trying to cause you shame or harm or whatever it is that they're doing, if you're a devotee, whatever it is they're doing, you need to be able to have compassion and rise above that, because you need to know that they are also the soul and living entity, part and parcel of Krishna. And Gurudev said that he actually had this experience somewhere from someone, and he said what to do, and he started praying for that person and started doing his japa. And he said it's one of the best japas he's ever done, because you're really connected with Krishna, because you are praying from the heart. Actually, the prerequisite of compassion is that you have to love that person. In order to pray for someone, you've got to love that person. I mean, you can't pray about somebody if you hate them. So then the prerequisite to go back to Godhead becomes love. You mean, loving somebody, loving all the living entities. In other words, you cannot go back to Godhead if you harbor hatred for anyone. Or if you are harboring bitterness over someone, you cannot go back to Godhead. So the prerequisite there, it is a very important lesson, and that's why you get placed in certain conditions, difficulties, where people are harming you. So then the question arises, what if you are not a devotee, and you don't have that Krishna conscious training to save yourself or to pray that for the person? So then the answer was, if you're not a devotee and you are suffering, say there's a hurricane, or somebody's harming you, personal, or you are really sick, but you're not a devotee, that's called karma, karmic reaction. In other words, what goes around comes around. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you're not a devotee and you're suffering, that means, you have committed some kind of karma and you are getting the reaction for it. But for devotees, we know that there's a big lesson. And after this lesson, Krishna actually, I really like this class. Gurudev said, he said, without opposition, where is the chance for glorious victory? Without opposition, where is the chance for glorious victory? In other words, Lord Krishna gives his devotees this particular challenge because he wants to glorify them. He wants to see them in their actual true colors. The true colors. What do you do when you are falling into the situation? Do you hate that person? Do you, you want to kill that person? or do you actually turn around and pray for them and try to, pray to Lord Krishna to change their heart? And once you do that, then there is a glorious victory. Because you pass the test. Obviously, you pass that test, there'll be other tests later on. There'll be greater tests. But the Lord Krishna gives you an opportunity to be glorified. The example that Gurudev gave was of Haridas Thakur, our Namacharya. He was whipped in the market, 22 places. But Haridas Thakur was praying for them. Coming to that level, it's amazing. And then there was another example he gave was extraordinary. No one can achieve that. And this was Vasudev the leper. And the leprosy sufferer, he had these worms crawling on his body, worms, and eating the flesh on his body. And one of those worms, not one, few of the, however many, rolled out of his body. So he actually was so compassionate, he picked them up and put them back on his body. Here, you can feed. That level, no one can, I don't think anyone can get to that level. Certainly not me. It's extraordinary. But such is the level of compassion and love that Krishna is looking for. Because then that means you don't hate anybody, you're not bitter towards anybody, it qualifies you to go back to Godhead. This was an amazing class. I loved this class of Gurudev. This is an opportunity for us to chant and pray. How do you pray? This is another question. How do you pray for someone? Or you just chant. You just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as much as possible. And there is spiritual advancement. And once you pass that, and Krishna, it's a real opportunity to show your true colors, and it's a real opportunity to pass the test and show who you are and what you're made of. Show who you are and what you're made of. And you're being tested by Krishna, so you better believe it. There's no other way. You are being tested by Krishna. And Krishna wants to know how you respond, whether you respond in a Krishna conscious way, or do you make a lot of... If you happen to do that, you advance a lot. Incredible spiritual advancement. And if you are chanting japa and you are praying for the people who attacked you, you will not believe how much mercy Krishna will give you. You will not believe. You will be overwhelmed. Because, why? Because you are doing what pleases Krishna at every minute. You are, being goal-oriented. What is your goal in Krishna conscious? I'm quoting from Bir Krishna Maharaj. It's not my class. He says, what is your goal? what is the goal? Are you being Krishna conscious? And it really gives you an opportunity to open up your heart to Krishna and being honest. And you pray for that person. And the other example he gave was Dhruv Maharaj. I mean, Dhruv Maharaj wanted Lord Krishna's darshan, and he wanted to ask Lord Krishna because he wanted to sit on the lap of his father. And he wanted to have a bigger kingdom than his father. He wanted, because his father was a king, he wanted to be the king also. He wanted more things. So he was actually quite honest with Krishna. He opened up his heart to Krishna and said, this is what I want. This is what I need. Anyway, when Lord Krishna came in front of Dhruv Maharaj, he obviously got his planet of his own, the Dhruv Loka. And he's never destroyed that Dhruv Loka. So he was quite honest, but in the end he realized that, I was looking for pieces of glass when I actually, have the best jewel, the most priceless, precious jewel in you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. I shouldn't really be wanting anything else. But still, Lord Krishna satisfied his original initial wish and gave him the planet. So, we are meant to love Krishna, and we are meant to detach. Gurudev said Krishna really wants you to bring you to the point of vairagya, really. To please Krishna only, to be attached to Krishna only. That's what we should be learning. And actually, he wants that from your heart. And that is, in a nutshell, he said it's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that everything should be from the heart, not the head. So your prayers and everything for everyone should be from the heart. And that's the prerequisite that earns you a ticket to Godhead. You can't go back to Godhead with bitterness in your heart. You can't harass people. You can't harass people, living entities. You can't be eating animals or, animals' flesh, because you are killing another, you're participating in killing another living entity. So there's no love for that living entity. You are eating the living entity. Eating the product of the living entity. Even though you did not directly kill, but there's no love for the living entity. So how can you go back to Godhead if you're doing that? So, the detachment that I talked about, obviously you have to have compassion for the person, you have to have love. In order to pray for that person, you have to love that person. Loving a person, what does that mean? You just want to be that person's well-wisher. You just don't want to hate that person, and you want that person to be a better person. Be a better person. So you do what you can to improve them, or you pray for them, for Krishna to improve them. And the result is quite amazing. It is unbelievable. So chant as much as possible. Take shelter in the holy names. And then there are other. Okay, so we are nearing to 8:45, so almost finished. But there was many things in here that I wanted to touch on just briefly. One was the detachment. Whatever is causing you that pain, whatever the resultant factors, you've got to detach from it. In other words, if, say, for example, somebody spreads a rumor about you, then that means that you are conscious about your reputation. So the rumor is hurting you for your reputation. So what's the answer to that? It will just be detached from your attachment to your reputation or your prestige. How you do that is just throw your hands in the air and say, well, Krishna's looking after me. And the example he gave was of Draupadi. Draupadi was being disrobed in front of court, in front of public, humiliation. And she just threw her hands up in the air and said, Lord Krishna, help me. And Lord Krishna instantly clothed her. They were never able to see any inch of her flesh, body. Never was able to. So attachment to the reputation or whatever it is. It could be to your beauty, it could be to your birth, it could be to your health, or whatever it is that you are attached to. Your relationships. So you detach from that and just know Krishna is looking after you. You're his devotee. Obviously, he will look after you. You have to have that faith. So detachment. And how do you do that? You have to say, well, You know, and you can actually turn that detachment or that attachment to your prestige in a positive way also. In other words, you have to turn that attachment into thinking, how is Krishna thinking of me right now? I mean, Krishna wants to know how you react. So in other words, he wants to know how you are thinking. Like normally when we make a decision, we think, okay, well, let me, you know, so you scratch your head and say, what will my father think if I do this? Or what will my mother think if I do that? What will my teacher think if I do that? Is it the right thing? So we have to think like that is, you know, what will Krishna think of me? Is he thinking the right thing? Am I doing things to please Krishna? What is my guru going to think of me? That one is quite an interesting one, because I apply that in my life too. What will my guru think of me? The best thing I do personally is I am extremely honest with my Gurudev. I tell him everything. And it applies to, you know, individual cases. I don't know how you can go in front of the deity and to Krishna and just be honest with Krishna, like Dhruv Maharaj was. Be honest. Srila Prabhupada says, you know, you don't look at Krishna but make Krishna look at you. So you turn that attachment to your prestige or whatever it is, your reputation, you turn that as an attachment to Krishna and say, oh, what is Krishna thinking? Does Krishna think of me like this? The answer is no. Krishna likes you. Krishna loves you. So you have to do it like that. Let me see if there is anything... because the question was, how do we actually, you know, pray for the person that you really want to kill for doing something wrong to you? The answer is try to understand why that person is doing that. It's because someone is being nasty. They are the ones experiencing pain in their hearts. They are suffering. Actually, they are suffering through their false ego. And they can cause their own suffering because they are under some kind of misconception and misguidance, under there's some kind of illusion that's causing them. It's called false ego. So we have to understand that. Turn around and pray for them. And if you do that, oh my gosh, you are, you know, rising in a platform higher than you can know. Obviously, then the question comes, you know, what about, well, this is just somebody causing you, but what about those natural disasters and things like that? Well, in Fiji, when there was a hurricane, the casualties were only three people died. It was because 3 or 4 days ago, the Prime Minister he acted very fast. He evacuated people and put them on a higher ground straight away. So there were very little casualties. So in other words, this thing is within your control. I mean, you can wear a seat belt while you're driving, you know, so to avoid if some God forbid, touch wood, if there's a mishap, at least you are protected. So you can do some things for protection. You know, it's winter, you put on a warm coat, stay warm. If it's corona, stay at home. I mean, right now there's a flux of clusters in the, you know, in the northern beaches in our area. Corona cases are growing in the beach area. So New South Wales, I mean, there are 250,000 residents been asked to go and get tested because suddenly there's a rise out of nowhere. Obviously, you'll stay at home. Take some, you know, take some precautions. Wear a mask, sanitizer, don't go anywhere unnecessarily. Obviously, don't go down to the beach right now. So those are certain things that are within your control. You do it. Yeah. So take those necessary steps to avoid falling into those problems. So I might have covered most of the things. The whole point is to react in a Krishna conscious way, and that takes a lot of doing, obviously. So the motivation, what is the motivation? Why would you want to do it? Well, you do it because you want to please Krishna. You do it because you want to please your guru. You do it because you don't want to harbor any hatred or bitterness within yourself. It eats you up like cancer, basically. There's a reaction, and then there's a chain reaction. You hurt one person, the person hurt somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else. So you got to put a stop to it. Turn around and pray to Krishna. Okay, so that was the main reason we discussed that is because Krishna, who is the basic controller, he controls us. That's the whole topic of this shloka this morning. The whole meaning, the essence is that Krishna is controlling you. How he is controlling you depends on whether you're a devotee or a non-devotee. And if you're a devotee, he does things, he puts you into difficulty so that you can rise. and come to his lotus feet, return to his lotus feet. And if you happen to be a elevated type of a devotee, then he wants to glorify you. And he wants to show you the caliber, what you're made of, your true colors. And this class, particularly of my Guru Maharaj, it inspires me a lot. I go back to that class quite a few times. If you are interested, it is in ISKCON Desire Tree. And it will take us a little bit of searching, but if you go, he's got a, you go under ISKCON Desire Tree, find Veer Krishna Goswami amongst the other Swamis that they are there, other Guru Maharajas, and then you just go through it. And there is a topic there under various, I think it is in the folder. And the title of that class is Krishna Takes Care of His Devotees. And how he does it, it's quite humorous too. But then he loves to inject a lot of humor in his class, which makes it interesting. Anyway, so we will conclude over there. Thank you for listening, and I will see you hopefully next Monday. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki Jai. Hare Krishna.